Many thanks for finding the time to be part of the program Politics Today, reaching you live on independent television and radio with your host of the most, Sonny Duke Okosun. In today's program, our focus will be on efforts by the federal government to rejig the economy, particularly with some of the positive signs that are coming forth. Are these signs things we can hold on to? Are they sustainable? Will they stand the test of time in terms of changing the economic situation of the country? These are many questions we'll be asking on today's program of Politics Today on independent television and radio. But let's give you this background. The value of the Naira gained strength at the power market on Thursday as a 3-day public holiday was running up, selling around 1,150 Naira to the dollar compared to 1,200 Naira to the dollar, which it sold on Monday this week. The appreciation of the Naira on this month is being driven by the policies of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, which includes disbursing dollars to Bureau de Change BDC operators at the lower band of the previous trading at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market. Traders note that the CBN policies, coupled with a low demand of the greenback and the prolonged holiday, had seen the appreciation in the value of the Naira. On Thursday, the CBN had on Monday sold $10,000 to 1,588 eligible Bureau de Change operators at 1,109 Naira to the dollar compared to 1,210 Naira to the dollar during the previous sales. At the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange window, the Naira closed at 1,230.6 to the dollar on Monday, a gain from its previous close at 1,251.05 on Friday, reflecting a gain of 20.44 Naira. The daily turnover saw a decline reaching $125.55 billion yesterday, in contrast to 248 million Naira on Friday, indicating a decline of 49.43%. In an effort to manage inflation and stabilize the Naira, the Central Bank of Nigeria increased its benchmark interest rate, known as the Monetary Policy Rate (MPR), by 200 basis points to 24.75% from 22.75% in February 2024. And on June 14, 2023, the CBN implemented significant reforms, including eliminating market segmentation, consolidating on all segments into the investors and exporters window, now called the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange, and reintroducing the willing buyer, willing seller framework. I don't want to bore you with all the other economic jargons that have brought forth this seeming positive outlook for the Naira against foreign currencies, not just the dollar alone, but of course the pounds, the euro, the Canadian dollar, the South African rand, and of course the Ghanaian cedis. We can just go on and on and on. But today, what are the factors responsible for what we have seen with the gain of the Naira? And to what extent are these factors going to help to sustain the continuous rise of the Naira and the continuous fall of the dollar in the days ahead? These are some of the questions that we'll be asking. But let's quickly meet our panelists. From my immediate left, I've got Dr. Ekaifo Esegbe, who is a lecturer in the Department of Theatre Arts, Igbenedion University, Okada. We know him very well as Dr. Open Secret. Good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, viewers and listeners. It's a pleasure being here.
We also have with us Dr. Efosa Awo Osage, a lawyer and also a public affairs commentator. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sonny. You've added another name to my name. I'm actually Patrick Folarum, so that you've added a full.
Thank you very much.
I think I will accept it.
Okay. We have the Executive Director of Freedom of Information Council, Barrister President Aigbohan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Sonny.
All right. Let me begin with you, Dr. Open Secret. I mean, when this administration came on board, it received massive criticisms. I mean, from the very first day of the present administration under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, particularly after the first pronouncement on fuel subsidy, I mean, it's been a barrage of criticisms day in, day out. Now, it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel from what we are seeing with the gains of the Naira against the dollar, the pounds, the euros, and what have you. I'd like to take it off from there.
Well, theoretically, you can say that it seems to be that there's light at the end of the tunnel. But in reality, it is not reflecting on the lives of the people, of Nigerians. It's not reflecting on the actual economy of the country, as it has to do with prices, cost of living, and all whatnot. If we take our mind back, before the president came in, a liter of fuel was sold for 200, 210 or so, thereabout. But now, the fuel is still at about 700 naira, 650, so places, as the case may be. And transportation is killing. Nothing seems to have come down, so there's no light yet. He told us that by December, Port Harcourt refinery will be working. And I don't seem to be working yet. Then we just learned that Dangote has started importing diesel or supplying diesel into the market. It's not reflected on the pump price yet. So we can only say that there's light at the end of the tunnel when we start seeing soccer. When we go to the market, we are able to come back home with reasonable items with some amount of money. So from what I'm seeing so far, it's just like mathematical activation and reactivation. So until it reflects on the life of the people, by the time we say light at the end of the tunnel, that means that we are now living the way we used to live, or living better than the way we used to live.
Okay, all right. I'll come back to you. Dr. Awosage. The dollar exchange rate, Naira dollar exchange rate, has been one thorny issue in our economic development as a country. And there were projections that within a short period of time, the exchange rate will hit $1 to 2,000 Naira. But rather than us moving towards or getting closer to that point, we are seeing the dollar falling against the Naira. Are these some of the things we should applaud the present government's economic policies along the CBN?
A friend of mine once said that he scored 33 out of 35, in his class. And then it was 33rd, and he wanted a situation whereby his father wouldn't flog him. So a thought occurred to him, and then he raised one of the three, and he now had third. So that was brilliant of him, thinking he could deceive his aged father.
Yes.
But unfortunately for him, the dad turned it around and looked at various subjects, and you scored this, and you had, E and weak passes in some of those narrative that was imputed in the result sheet. How could you have come up with this? I think that's what Dr. Open Secret is saying now. Now, having the fall, people are looking at, the COVID time, we're looking at figures and stuff like that. It's not about the figures that is being manipulated or that could be imputed back and forth. Accountants could do magic with words, with figures. But again, look at the lives of the people. You cannot just say you are coming down or we are not hitting or we'll just be looking at that. Look at the economy, what is being done. You cannot have a meaningful, a heady system running when structures are not put in place. The people are still living below, and like you mentioned, petrol, look at the situation of that. So that the dollar is dangling back and forth. What's the value? What are other factors? What are other things that impute on the people that we are going through? Look at the cost of living. It's on the rise. Even if you say the dollar, it's not everybody that's concerned about that. Yeah, we want to say, well, the dollar is this and that, is falling as against the initial projection. But again, look at the dollar, or look at the economy. Look at how we live in. People can barely feed. Even the money in question is not enough. So other factors and of production that need to be put in place are not in place. So we cannot verily say they are doing so well. But on the record, we could applaud and say, well, it seems to be psychologically to affect the thinking of people. But in reality, it has not really gotten to the people yet.
Okay.
I think that's my thoughts about it.
Mr. Prest, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was someone who was praised to have the capacity to see through the length and breadth of Nigeria to bring the best of the best to come on board his government. Would you say that has been achieved with the current CBN policies and how it's reflecting on the Naira dollar exchange rate?
Thank you so much, Sonny. I think, in my own opinion, that the selection of the current CBN government and his idea on how to manage the MPC and reflecting on the dollar reduction is quite laudable. For those who take aircraft, for those who buy electronics recently, for those who have one or two things to do with purchase that has dollar equivalent, you will discover that if you go back to that same market now, the prices of those things have drastically come down. So if you argue on the margin for the poor people, if you argue for the elite, you discover that it's two different arguments. The reduction in dollar rate have actually helped the rich, but it has not shrunk down to the poor. So, but that dollar rate, what we are evaluating now, we must applaud the president and the CBN governor and all his members on how they are able to tackle it. What we're asking them for is to try and sustain it, and now move to the more microeconomy. The poor. How will the people in the society, how are they being impacted by the economy generally? Because if you solve the dollar issue, you have not solved the problem of the poor in the society, because they have no business with dollar. They don't have school fees to pay abroad. They don't have aircraft ticket to buy. They don't have electronics to buy. They don't have those things that revolve around dollar. They have no business with it. So having solved that, the government need to sit down. And to surprisingly, it may not be an issue for the CBN to tackle. It may not be an issue for the Minister of Finance and his team, Minister of National Planning and his team. All the ministers now need to sit down and now devise a means to see how they can also reduce buying and selling rates in a way that the general public can now say it is Uhuru.
Fantastic. Dr. Omosekwe, are we getting to that point where we can say that if the impact of the current dynamics of the Naira, that is, dollar Naira exchange, that is impacting positively on the Naira is anything to go by? Can we get to that point where we can say, for example, even the plights of the poorest of the poor is not really being influenced or affected by this dollar Naira exchange rate? Could this be the deliberate creation of our own people in terms of trying to take undue advantage of the system for their own benefits? I've heard people say, how does dollar affect the price of gari, yam, beans, and all of those things?
Well, directly or indirectly, it affects the prices of gari and what have you. Because the one who is a peasant farmer or is a farmer in the village or wherever that is out there to produce his food, he or she needs logistics to ensure that this food are produced. Now, we used to buy chemical, herbicides for 1,000 naira, 800 naira. Now it's about 700 naira for one bottle. Now we used to...
let's get that clearly. You used to buy from 1,000...
Yes, 1,000 naira, 800 naira. Initially 800 naira, from 800 moved to 1,000.
How much is it now?
Now it's about 7,000.
Okay, 7,000.
Yes.
Okay.
And we used to get day jobs, all these jobbers, to come to your farm, to weed your farm for 1,000 naira, 1,200 naira. Sometimes you give them food, sometimes you don't give them food. But now, the least you can get is 3,000 naira. And by 10 o'clock, they're already telling you they are closed, they want to go home. So by the time the farmer goes into all of this and produces this gari and brings to the market, this farmer, he has children to feed, yes, and to send to school. He has bills to pay. So by the time he now brings this gari and sell it at Ogbeli, as you want, then how is he now going to meet up with the other basic necessities of life? There's a farmer forbidden to drink cold water, to have fridge in his house, or to have television and all those basic essence of life. So if you go to the village now, the villages are virtually empty, except for the very old people who don't have where to do, children to come and get them away from that place. The youths are no longer in the village to farm. So the few people that are now in the village farming, what they are producing is too little. And by the time the economist theory of demand and supply comes to play, you realize that we have more mouths to feed, but less food to distribute. And coming to all of this, the dollar have a place, because by the time, for example, it's not even the dollar that's affecting us. It is the price of fuel, of petrol, that is the problem. That is because, okay, if I go and root my cassava in my village and bring it to I need to, from Ekpoma to Benin now, if you stand along the road, 3,000, 2,500. If you go to park, 5,000 naira. By the time I pay transport to, I pay transport back, how much am I going? So, it's not actually the dollar that is affecting the price of goods and services in the market. It is the high increment in fuel and materials for drivers and what have you.
Okay. All right, Dr. Awosage, I'd like to get your perspectives on this, that the feeling that our local people who are into some level of production or thereabout are also responsible for this seeming inflation that we're seeing, abysmal increase in the prices of goods and services, which in a sense may not really have direct impact or direct influence from the dollar and other foreign currencies.
I disagree totally, because if you heard from what my colleague had said here, he actually mentioned, you know, kind of favoring the rich against the poor in that regard. Just let's leave it at that for now, that, okay, he has done something around dollar, those that have kids abroad, that have business to catch around the world, so they cannot pay less than what they usually pay. But I must make you understand that this economy are interwoven. You cannot really separate it, like what Dr. Opinsikiri is trying to make sense of now. Now, you usually go to hire somebody. I have a farm too. So I wonder how, I think I will discuss with him to get me those guys that could take 3,000. I think because it's good there. They charge so much. Now, for you to allow these guys to come to your farm to give them 2,000 before now, and they are saying now, Organa 5,000 now, things don't there, you know, you're going to put that together, and then coming down, conveying your goods. The roads are bad and the drivers are complaining. The road taxis or those transport workers have collected so much. So they're going to hike the price. They need to meet up with their responsibilities. So at the end of the day, putting all these factors together, and somebody is going to buy it here, and they're going to be taking it out of the country, and all of those modalities put together, and everything is connected. So the idea of making it feel like it's just for the locals and they just buy from is it not here you got your cassava? You mentioned fertilizer. You need to pay, and they are being imported. And those guys, those middlemen that will want to get it to you, even if government said, I'm going to give you guys fertilizer, somebody is going to convey it down, and it's going to be selective. So all this put together, they want a good life, because the essence of living is to aspire high. Okay. You know, they also want to live well. They want to be comfortable. They want to also send their children abroad. That's the way you feel others are there. So they want to meet up that. So that desire, that innate desire to grow, will also make things not work that way. So it's interwoven. Okay. So it's going to affect the whole of.
All right, Vice President, the analysis, brought forth the fact that the current gains in the Naira, gains of the Naira against the dollar, is favoring only the elites and the rich. So how do we make this trickle down? What would be your advice?
I think the first thing is for there to be an interministerial committee. The Minister of Finance have to work with the other ministries, like Ministry of even Labor. First and foremost, there have to be increase of wages. The minimum wage have to be increased, because obviously the increase in fuel have already undermined allowances that is normally paid to workers. So there have to be an interagencies concrete committee to be able to devise modality to trickle this down, because the poor is actually separated from this uhuru, and they have to catch up. The interagency ministerial committee have to be able to devise policies that can actually affect the poor. First of all, you manage the sales, because those, there are already argument that those who are selling are actually increasing this, having a witchcraft increase of prices without any fear of God. So they have to be, they have to now manage prices. Can we fix prices for markets? We can, if the dollar can actually be fixed. So the distribution of of goods that are stored, that were released during Salah for people, should actually be managed and distributed to market women. So if you are opening our national storage of goods, of food and products, you should be given directly to women, and you take market people, and you fix the price from there. You are the one giving them the goods. Okay, buy bag of rice that we have stored for 25,000. Go and sell it at 30,000. That the highest they can sell is 32,000. So you're not managing the prices. So of course, it's that people will go after those goods and buy it. So for those who want to join the national supply, can actually sell their goods to federal government at cheaper rate, and government gives incentive. So if you sell to us, your children can actually also benefit from student loan. So you are not saying that Minister of Education is not connecting to it. Are you getting it now? So you market woman selling your goods on the market, you just offer to sell it. Somebody is coming to pick it. Minister of Transport. And speaking, the Minister of Education is already enlisting you in their own dashboard. Your children, how many children you have for student loan already. So it has to be an interministerial committee. Okay. It's not something that you can leave for CBN. Not something you can leave for Minister of Finance. So all the ministries have to come together to say, okay, what can the market benefit from you? You table it. What can it benefit from that person? And that's how you can manage the chain. Okay. So the point is still there, that when the Tinubu administration was setting up his minister list, we criticize some of the ministries. So those some of them are not competent. So it's not a second phase of it. Because, okay, maintain the political ministers and bring in individuals who can think around to see how this the policy can actually trickle around to touch the poor.
All right. We saw the constitution of an economic committee, even though we already have the Federal Economic Council in place to help to drive the economy. I mean, in that economic team, we had the likes of the governor of Anambra State, who was a former CBN governor, Soludo there, the likes of billionaire Otedola, Dangote, Lumelu, and the likes of them. I mean, several of them. But there's been talks about, I mean, how do we get these guys who, in a way or in a sense, may have also contributed to this free fall of the Naira that we witnessed for such a long time, just before it starts appreciating. I don't know what you make of this comment.
Well, sir, I think it's the government we have in this country, or we have always had in this country, is the government of the elite. And my brother here has been able to just oppose that all they are concerned is about themselves. But government is supposed to exist because of the people. But the kind of government we are having is government of the elite and for the elite and by the elites. So that is why all their policies are always targeted at enhancing the elites. For example, one of them there whose name ring a bell, Dangote. All the products he has a hand in this country, how many of them are affordable? Before he came into the cement business, we grew up to know that cement was sold for less than 500 naira, 1,000 naira. And just recently, cement was 1,000. It used to be 500 and so. Since he came into it, what has been the fate of this thing? What about noodles? What about sugar? All these are the basic necessity of life. How have they been able to manage it to the benefit of the common man? So all those committees know what is relevant. What is relevant is how, as a country, do we go into production? For example, Edo State government sometime in the first administration tenure of this governor told us that they had farms in Esan, in Apuze, this, that. I think it is time for media should be asking them, where are the products from those farms? People cannot go to farm. Insecurity in the forest. We can't buy farming implement and what have you. And government has no farm. That we just learned that say they are engaging private people for oil farm. This is the oil we are going to be drinking. We are talking about gari. You cannot buy ordinary gari. We used to call it ordinary gari. You cannot buy gari. You cannot buy salt. You cannot buy pepper. You cannot buy. All these are what keeps life going. Survivor first. The people have not been able to. They are not surviving. We are talking about Beauty Road from here to Kavanchan. So we must go into production. This idea that we can no longer feed ourselves in this country is a cause. If people are not seeing it in that way, it's a cause. How can we have arable land, fertile land, able men and women, and we cannot feed? Number one, people cannot go to farm. Number two, farming has gone beyond cutlass and hoe. In the 80s, when Epoma rice was in vogue, there were tractors in virtually all local government council, where if you are interested in making farm, those of us in Ebomaden, you go to the council, you book for tractor. They give you a date, you take them to your farm, they till the land for you, they harrow it for you. If you need planter, they plant for you. Fertilizers were available. Now, none of these things are available. People cannot say go to farm. All the young boys in town that are all parading the whole street now, dreaded local, what have you, are supposed to be in the village, producing food. The village is no social amenities. People now have to take little children as 7 years, 5 years, 8 years, 12 years to come and rent room for them in the city center so that their children can access school. So we used to have farm settlements. Where are our farm settlements?
Okay.
These are what the government should be thinking about now. Okay. Farm settlements. Okay. So that people put school there, put everything there, so that people will troop there, accommodate them. They will be producing food. Let us feed ourselves before we start talking about importation of dollar.
All right. Before we take a short break and bring in another set of guests, let me get a final take on this by Star Wosage.
Well, in my opinion, I think everyone that's sat with me here have spoken excellently well. And just like what Dr. Okinsika, I'm so overwhelmed at those submissions. You know, it's almost bringing tears to my eyes because that's exactly what we're going through. Because we could sit down here now and talk from morning to evening. The reality is that until we start taking physical steps and making frantic efforts to ensuring that all that we have said today is attended to, it's of no use. And the truth is that we really need to get back to work, and the government needs to do much more than what they have ever done. I think that's basically what I have to say now. All
right, Vice President Aiboha, the Economic Council, Economic Committee constituted has a lot of eggheads who have seen it all with CBN. Some of them are now state executive governors and all of that. I mean, considering the fact that many of these people, they've also been accused of being part of the problem. Do you see any positive impact coming from them?
And the Economic Committee, I'm optimistic that there will be impact from there. Don't forget that the impact of the committee largely will depend on the feedback from the public and how the public citizens are also reacting. And importantly, the role of the media in communicating to the committee. Media must be able to communicate to the committee the wishes of the people, and not just mere editorial. The public citizen role in economic emancipation is huge. We keep saying government. We keep saying government. Is it government that will build the settlements? Government can only come with intervention like health facility, like schools. The settlement itself is supposed to be owned by the individuals who are so determined to have huge production. I'm getting it now. So the public citizen role in economic emancipation by boosting our agricultural production should also be emphasized in media analysis. We have our role to play. We must go back to farming. We must go back to having a mass farming, having people to be involved in the farming production, and having to also take the goods to the market, and also be creative on how to preserve these goods. We in this country preserve the vaccines. In this country, vaccines were preserved. So what are the ideas? Why can't we convert such technology to preserve agricultural products? So are we going to wait for foreign nations to bring solutions to us here? Are they going to solve our malaria issue? So we must domesticate our research. Even researchers must sit down. So I've been an agricultural economist for decades. I've been an agricultural engineer for years. I'm even a professor. I've not been able to produce machines that can preserve products in my village. You are not a professor of agricultural engineering. We must challenge ourselves, not push our problem to government. Government cannot solve everything. What are we, a public citizen, doing? That's my last thing.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's still Politics Today on independent television and radio. The focus on the show today is to look at the federal government CBN policies and how it's shaping the Naira-dollar exchange rate, which seems to be on the positive side, on the side of the Naira. It's our hope that this is sustained. What impacts can state governors as well as local government administration make to have some level of sustainability in some of these gains? I'd like to thank Barrister Greg Iyayi, who is just joining us. Barrister Greg, thank you again for coming on the program.
Sunday.
Okay, so since you're just joining us, lap up on some of the thoughts shared so far. I know that in spite of the gains recorded, I'm not sure you go to the market, so you may not be able to appreciate some of these things.
I do.
Okay, so we haven't really seen a proportional change in the prices of commodities reflective of the Naira gain. And this has brought a lot of concern to people. And I've heard some people say, look, these things are just happening now. It's a little bit too early for us to expect that sort of dramatic change that we expect to see in the prices of commodities. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think if we look at the policies, are they actually designed or aimed to help the common man? Because we must have that in focus. I know that corporate organizations, the big ones, might in one way or the other benefit from it. But the price of fuel has not changed. So when the woman goes to the village market and brings the goods, is still paying the same fare that she has been paying. And she's going to sell, because we are talking of things that touch the lives of people on a day-to-day basis. You know, transportation, the price of food items, the price of breads, school fees, and all that. None of these things have actually been affected by the little gain we think we have gotten from the Naira. And if we're even talking of gain, I'm a little bit puzzled by what we call gain. Because what was the exchange rate before now? What was the exchange rate? We're talking of about 600 Naira. And then we are now talking of almost 2,000 Naira to $1. And then it's coming down to about 1,250 as I now official rates, not the street rate. Because the street rate is the one of the aboki man. So what is actually gain? So I don't think much has actually been done. And that is why it appears that it has not trickled down. Till we address the issue of energy, we address the issue of transportation, then we can be talking of these things actually trickling down, you know, to the masses. We are the masses. We're in the street. We buy fuel. We go to the market. Sonny, you may not know I go to the market.
Dr. Opusikrit, I raised a fundamental issue before the break, which has to do with what level of contributions do you expect from the state government and local governments in complementing federal government's efforts to change this economic quagmire that we're in?
Well, the issue is that it is even the state governments across the nation that are putting us into more woes. Because most of the things they are supposed to tackle as their primary obligations, as their priority, are not being tackled. For example, the issue of farming, the issue of food, is supposed to be at the table of the state governance. Because, for example, the federal government don't have any land anywhere apart from the FCT, Abuja, where they occupy. But the other lands of this country belong to the state government. What are they doing with the land? One of the panelists was trying to say that it is individuals that will go and create a farm settlement and government. It's not true. The farm settlement we had in this our blended state, Edo State, during the Professor Ambrose Sali's regime, they are still there. It was created by the state government, and people were encouraged to go there and live there. They live there and produce food on a daily basis, and that is why you discover we had a lot of surplus during the 80s of food. But now our state government are not thinking about the masses. What are they thinking about? How to perpetuate themselves in power. What must they do to ensure that their cronies are in power? How do they ensure that they hold the power, the people at the jugular? They are not thinking of how, whatever activities the state government are going into now, you discover that they are doing it based on the percentage they are going to get. Based on the agreement, most of the investment the state government say they are bringing, they are usually from us. They bring them from outside. They say they sign MOU. So the state government must take responsibility. For example, They say that the chief security officer of the state is the governor. The chief security officer of the state is the governor when it has to do with political affair, how to quell political enemy and what have you. But when it comes to marauders, killing people in the forest, marauders, kidnap people, they will not tell you that it belongs to the federal government.
Even if this has been a very topical issue, the issue of state governors being referred to as chief security officers, when in essence they do not control the army, the air force, the navy, the police, the DSS. I mean, all the security. Just a moment. All the security structures, they do not control them. All of this control comes from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. I mean, there was a state governor who came out openly to say, on no account should anybody refer to him as the chief security officer. That was the former governor of Katsina State, Abdulaziz Yari, I suppose, yeah. He came out to say that because according to him, it's just on paper that he is the chief security officer of the state, but he doesn't control all of the structures and paraphernalias of security, and that makes it difficult for him to take decisive actions in dealing with this issue. I'd like to...
Sir, but what is the essence of the security vote? The security vote that the governors get every month, what is the essence of it? The governors only come to tell us that the security apparatus are on the auspices of the federal government when it has to do with affecting the common man, when the security situation have to do with the common man. But when it have to do with them, affecting, maybe threatening their political position and what have you, you see they deploy all the security. Okay,
let me pause it there, Dr. Opusikri. I'll come back to you. Dr. Awosage, what's your take on this? State governments, local governments getting involved in helping to stabilize the economy through their economic policies and programs as well?
It's not rocket science, and it's something that can be achieved. If it were achieved, it was achieved rather in time past. I don't think it's something that cannot be achieved. But like we all know, and I don't like to be economical with the truth at some point in time, you know, we keep trying to make good a bad situation. I had a situation, for instance, a court of competent jurisdiction delivered judgments, and the CFO was, revoked and given back to the previous owner. And some general said he is still in charge. And we said, no, this is not the position. You know, you need to go the route of trying to use the instrument of the law enforcement to get a big man to understand.
To get justice.
So you understand, it doesn't, like the issue of fundamental rights most of the time when I file it, it's what everybody should know. I don't need to file an application before court that my right is being threatened. We all have the copies of the Constitution. So if you are saying a state governor, you know your duty, you are for that state. It's not to collect certificate of occupancy money and then ask them to pay money, consents, all those things, money going to treasuries of government. That is the duty of a governor. You should go back. Yes, as well as we know that we have local government, D.A. Tonwe has said the government at the grassroots level. You know, how free are those local government chairpersons or chairmen, as the case may be? How are they able to work on their own? I commend the EGO chairperson now for what she is doing. I can commend her openly because before now we saw the nonsense going on. You know, the initiative that is good, but we are saying we can do more. You have taxpayers' money coming, you have the IGRO, you have the power, you have all there is. So it is because the government of the day to wake up and arise to the occasion, distinct that from political activities. Okay. Your primary responsibility is to serve your people. Because in a few days, you'll be out of there. It could be 10 years. Ogbemudia is not here. Everybody is still singing his praises. I think this is basically what we should look at.
Okay. All right, Mr. Greg, let me get your take on this. Local government, state government's impact in the economy, complementing what the federal government is doing.
I think the local government is in a very good position because of their proximity to the people to actually make impact on the economic fortunes of their various domains. But just like has been said, they are hamstrung and they are really not independent. You know, when you talk of funds, there are funds particularly. We had a situation where a governor or a one-time governor of the state, had a clash with some local government because he said that he was going to take a percentage of the local government funds, you know, to actually fulfill, to actually implement a campaign promise that he makes. But what happened was that some local government chairmen who were bold enough, you know, they confronted him and they told him that, look, we also made campaign promises. If you made campaign promise to the people, you cannot use our funds to start implementing the campaign promises. It was hell, you know. The governor was even threatening that he was going to dissolve those local governments. So I think the local government should be allowed to function as prescribed by the Constitution.
Exactly.
They are an arm of government or a tier of government on their own, completely, just as the governor wouldn't like the president to, you know, hamstrung, to get them hamstrung. They should also not do so to the local governments. Because if the local governments are allowed to flourish as constitutionally prescribed, you see a lot of them will be able to do very well. We know some local government that did well, local government chairman that did well, Ego, you know, Esan Northeast, John Yacobo, you know, the roles that he had in his local government, they're still there today, and they can testify of that. He gave a bursary to students. So who hears of that today? But again, you have to look at it. Some local governments, chairman, they're actually only interested in revenue collection, sending out people to harass people. They actually do not have a plan. There was a plan that was, a study that was made sometime in the time of Lucky Benedict. And it was discovered that every local government, you know, there were none that did not have the resources, agricultural resources for an agro-based industry. It was based on that report that the fruit juice factory at Eho was made, but unfortunately, it did not see the light of the. They found that in every, I think in the Eastern Northeast, they talked of the Casavita factory and all that, but all these, they were thrown to the dustbin. But if they had been allowed to actually see the light of day, because those people had the capacity to find out of employing at least 200 people, and 200 people being employed by, you know, a small factory in a local government is something. So this is it.
Okay, Basa Wasage, I guess I just want to ventilate your views on the issue of insecurity, particularly against the background that it's also impacting negatively on efforts to farm. People can go to farm, do their thing, contribute their quota to the overall output of states in terms of farming, because these marauders are in the farms. I mean, people can't just go to farm. Is there anything state governors who are the chief executive or chief security officers can do when they really don't have control on all of these structures or infrastructures of security, as it were?
Thank you very much. I don't agree that they don't have control. I don't agree that they don't have control to chase away wrong folks, criminal elements within the, you know, reserve of the government. I agree with that. You know, the federal government is not supporting what is wrong. If we want to even accuse them in the open or in the secret, if you say maybe they have a hand in it, like the way that we say, nobody, there is no government that will support wrongdoing. There is no government of the day that will support wrongdoing. In all of this, my thought is very clear. I think security is everybody's business, one, and it should be localized. You know, you don't have to put it. I worry most of the time when land disputed issues get to, you know, force headquarters Abuja. And, you know, a Malam is now presiding over Yokogba's land dispute between two brothers or something. So it's appalling that stuff like that are happening. So what has we localize this thing and let everybody be the security personnel? And local government area, like we saw in Ondo, Amotekun, and we saw the results.
Yeah.
So the idea of saying that the government don't have the wherewithal, that the federal government, what laws have you put in place? How well have you seen this law to work? You know, they said now, nobody should go into the forest reserve. What have we done? Have we deployed men to ensure that this is done? How well are we protecting the farmers? You know, and in the bush, you can have local government, local vigilantes, like we do have. But a lot of them have complained bitterly that they are not being given, it's no stipends. You don't expect somebody to be going with gun moving up and down without encouragement. And then what do you expect him to do? He will start thinking of what to benefit with what he's carrying.
All right, let's take a look at some of the views and perspectives from our viewers and listeners. And just for you to do that, kindly call the studio number 08077770003. Dial the number right now, right away, and let's get to take. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, your guest in the studio.
Thank you. Good morning. Go ahead and tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Mr. Janla calling from St. Silvio.
Go ahead, please.
My take is this. I want to talk of the aspect of farming.
Yeah.
In Edo, we are over two flogging the one of insecurity. If insecurity is, and the food we are eating in the south, major food we are eating is, like I said, that percent of the food we eat in the south come from the north. Despite insecurity, in Edo, people are not farming again. You see cassava just go up like Gary. What is the reason? It's not insecurity. People don't want to farm. The lesser people are not farming for the majority. Those are not supporting, especially in Edo, they are not supporting agriculture. Which is a very varies. There is a poultry agriculture, there is aquatic agriculture. Tell us how much the Edo State government have invested in agriculture in Edo State. Said it on this platform that there was a time a press team. The Edo State government collect $5 billion from CBN loan for rice and maize. Where is the rice in Amekpete? Where is the rice in Ososo? The governors are the problem of hunger in Nigeria, not the federal government, which is trying to hunger to our state governors. That is my take this morning. Good morning on the Duke Okosun.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sure you should make further inquiries about the whereabouts of the 5 billion naira you just alleged government got to fund rice and maize, so you can be properly informed. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, sir. My name is Joshua. I'm calling from Owondo.
Go ahead, please.
Briefly, tell us that state government has no power to control any security. Don't sit here with Amotekun. Who can do? Federal government, no, which the governor can control commissioner of police to your state issue. Do we have even need state police without the time of Obasanjo? Are we not all in this country? Who is agitating for police, state police there? Because the president was so powerful on top of the situation. Where will you find the bandit or any criminal? Which is lawless, is doing whatever he likes. Political interest. I will say governor, it's about the president who is unwilling to secure the life of Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, thank you, caller from Ondo State, or specifically. Thank you for your views. Let's get more calls, more views, more perspectives. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name? Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. 08077770300 is our studio number. Hello, caller. Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Okay, go ahead and dial the number 08077770300 is the studio number. Dial it right now, right away, and let's get your views. Hello, caller. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. We can hear you. Go ahead. Just speak up a little bit.
I'm Pastor Sunday calling from Abo.
Okay, Pastor Sunday, go ahead, please.
We are talking. You people are talking about insecurity, that the state governors cannot control the security of the state. And so, when they want to do campaign, or they want to go on their own on any occasion, not securing themselves, talking about the state governor. Anambra State, that time when our governor Adiniju introduced a Bakassi state. The Bakassi not protecting the people then. people are using us because the state governor in Nigeria that will be able to just to manage ordinary chaos. They are waiting for federal government allocation. Remember, federal government have no land to farm. But the nation issue of Afuzi there concerning rights. Where are those rights state today? And the governors are fooling the people for the anonymity.
All right, thank you, Pastor Sunday from Agbo. Thank you for the views that you just shared with us on the program. The State Politics Today, 0807777. Yes, go ahead. Good morning, caller. We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Moses calling from Ibobai.
Moses, go ahead, please.
I don't think the state governors or whoever is saying it that they don't have control over security challenges, that they are correct. The reason why security, that they are collecting it monthly, then to support what the federal government is doing about security challenges in the country. The state governors, they don't have right or they don't have the power to control security in their state. They should not be security vote monthly. That's number one. Number two, the issue of hunger in the land ought not to be part and parcel of what Nigerians are facing. Because each local government has the land where the state governor can invest on agriculture. We have Ministry of Agriculture and we have Commissioner of Agriculture like Edo. What are they doing? If each local government is being organized in a well-formed situation, they can use what the people need, what each local government needs. Especially state governor and local government should wake up to their own. Not sending people to the street and be harassing people when they come to collecting money every day.
All right, thank you very much. Time for the calling segment is over, but let me get your final take, Dr. Open Secret, on the conversation so far.
On the conversation, you realize that not until the state governors allow the local government to breathe, we are going to be in a vicious cycle. Because the state governors have been able to cramp the local government, and the local government that are supposed to be close to the people is the local government that's supposed to, I was talking about the 80s. The state government empowered the local government. That was why we were able to access tractors to the local government council, access fertilizer and all whatnot to the local government council. Now, when it was time for Okoroma community and Obage, the state government deployed soldier men and all this, they took over that community, demolished where they want to demolish. Who gave the state government that power at that time? When he was grabbing the land in that area. Who gave the state government the power to mobilize all the security men and all the soldiers and all whatnot? When it is time to defend the people, they will now tell us.
All right, Mr. Greg, a final word from you. I mean, we're just on this conversation is getting more interesting, but our time is up really.
Yes. I think the governors have heard the voice of the people from the feedback we had, and they definitely have to do more. Although I know that all of the power to control the security apparatus is actually not in their hand. A commissioner of police can refuse an order from the governor. He will say, I have to hear from my boss. And he will tell you that the governor is not his boss, but the IGP. So also can the brigade commander. He will tell you that the chief of staff is his boss. Okay. That is the limitation concerning that. But let the governor do whatever they can do within their resources and power.
Well, that's our package for today on Politics Today on Independent Television and Radio. We want to believe you had a great time with us. Be sure to join us again. Let's do it together again on Saturday next week on the program. Big thanks to all our panelists and big thanks to you watching at home from wherever you are across the world. We truly appreciate this partnership. On behalf of the entire crew, I'm Sonny Duke Okosun wishing you a great weekend. Bye for now.